Oh man, I just want to make it quick. I just finished the Howard Stern's new book, um, Comes Again. Howard Stern Comes Again. It basically just talks about his evolution and evolution of his interviewing process as well as his evolution as a person. And it was intense, man. It was good. It was good. I have to give him that. I wasn't the biggest Howard Stern fan back. I never lived in one of his markets for when he was on regular radio. And when he was on the E Show back in the '90s, I didn't get that the way, or I wasn't, just wasn't my thing. Half hour and just kind of the whole essence of it. So I totally misunderstood the guy for the longest time. I really did. And just kind of saw him in one light. Uh, and then around about 2006, he went to satellite radio. And all of a sudden, he could just go on without commercial break. And uh, you could listen anywhere you were. It didn't matter where you were at. You could get him, and you not just get him. You could get hours, and then you could also because he has like two channels on there. He did back then. So on one channel you get like what he was up to now, and then on the other channel you got like the full unedited shows from all the years he had been on radio, right? So uh, it was amazing content to like hear it all in actual context. It allowed me to really develop a completely different appreciation for the guy. So I mean, to the point where I really wanted to like meet him, to see. If, I don't know. I just wanted to see, right? So about 2008, um, I was pretty dialed into his show by then. So and I figured out a way, and I don't, that it's not important how or whatever. I mean, uh, it's pretty not easy, but to say the least, or whatever, because he can read people extremely well. So if you're going in there under any kind of false pretense whatsoever, he's going to see right through that. So I I wanted to meet him so bad though in 2008 and be interviewed by him that I knew I had to appeal to him in a way to get on the show, but I had to use enough of my real life as well, so that he couldn't see through that. And so I started connecting with different people in the show, and just slowly kind of built my way, you know, um, and then eventually pitched myself as a guest on the show. As I got to know a couple of the producers, one thing led to another, and in I think it was like March of 2008, I got my opportunity. I went into the show. They treated amazingly. I mean, like I flew me to New York. They had a car pick me up. The whole deal put me up in right there in Rockefeller Center in this amazing hotel overlooking Times Square. I mean, the only thing that was bad about this whole experience is I didn't have my wife and kids with me there. I mean, because it was just like, and it was 2008, so it wasn't like all these places to like document it. And I wasn't doing it for that anyway. I was doing it for myself. But like now, I think looking back, is like I got one or two pictures and a couple of blurbs online or whatever. And of course, it's all out of context because they don't know the whole backstory and everything that went into it and so on and so forth. But so I got to spend about maybe 20, 25 minutes on the couch right there in front of him, man. I mean, and you talk about an intimidating room to walk into. At the time, they had Artie Lang was on the show full time. And of course, you got Robin and Fred, and then you got outside, you got Gary. And at Sirius, you had the news department, the wrap up show. I mean, there was a lot of doors, man. So you had to be on your toes, or at least I did. I had to be on my toes. But I was really determined to meet the guy. Uh, he is a unique, dialed in kind of guy. I mean, he's very shut off, and he has I think the persona that a lot of people have of him is starting to change now. You're starting to see that in the last couple of years as like it's nothing but just like the A-list guys that go in there and get interviewed by him now. So he's definitely, getting the respect that he's earned over the years. But that was a long evolution for him. You can tell in this book, he does his best to capture that, what that evolution was like. It was inspiring to me because he's basically doing, he's capturing it well, he's been. I guess it took him over 2 years to write it, but he completed his what he thought of as his. I mean, he'll continue to progress, of course, but what he completed what he thought of his, his evolution, his change, and then went back and wrote about it, which is amazing in itself, because he can offer such insights and stuff. But it was inspiring to me, just because like the idea that I could one day write a book like that, and would be discussing this time now, was kind of cool. The thought of it, who knows if, how these things work, these ideas are just out here. But, no, I just wanted to give him my thoughts down about him in this book. Like, it was an amazing opportunity for me or an experience for me that he gave me, it's been a little more than 10 years ago now. And I got to do a couple things on his channel and stuff while I was there, which was cool. I mean, especially I didn't come from that background. I have no experience in any of it. Probably the worst part of it, and luckily it was saved for the end. Because how I got on the show was basically as a stand-up comedian, or whatever, or a wannabe one, and I had to present that. And a lot of people contact the show, wanting to be discovered. Now, I had never did stand up in my life, so that at that point, so being discovered wasn't, I was hoping I was there for the interview and then hoping to just kind of slip out from under. But I knew I was going to have to do some form of stand up before I left, and I had to get up in front of the hardest room in the world and try to pull off, being a stand up comic. I mean, live on air, live in front of them, live everything. And although, like, when I read back now at some of the comments, it's not too bad, like I did okay for that room, I guess, first time anyway. I mean, what can you do? But at the time, it felt horrible. I was like, oh my God. Oh, I remember sitting there as the interview was winding down, knowing that I was going to have to get up in a minute and perform, Oh my God. And that dude's got like 20 million people listening to him and stuff. So, like, that's the reason I made up a name. I went on. Oh, and I felt so bad about it. That's for a fact, too, because I went on under the name Jamie Thomas, right? Now, reality is it had nothing to do that Jamie came from a completely different source, and Thomas is my first name. And I go by TJ, so I just kind of reversed it, made it to Jamie. That's what, what I'm saying? In hindsight, though, it turns out Jamie Thomas is a famous skater from my hometown. So clearly it must have been stuck in my head or something, or just, But afterwards, then of course it looks like, and he's like a famous skateboarder. He was a couple years older than me, so like I knew who he was and his whole circle, but I didn't run in it. And I'll never forget because Twitter had just launched basically, and I had Jamie contact me, the real Jamie Thomas, after I was on the show and got a little publicity because everyone's trying to get on Twitter. Well, I already had his name because I set up a Twitter account, and like at the time, like a MySpace account, because you had to have something so that when you got there, they could, you had to validate some stuff, And I'll never forget Jamie calling me up after it was all over and asking me if he could buy, he wanted to buy his name back from Twitter. Of course, I just gave it to him. I didn't, I wasn't going to be Jamie Thomas on Twitter. That was just, but it was an interesting experience. I learned a lot from it. I met some phenomenal people, and I did get to sit in one of the most intimidating rooms in the world. I can promise you that. Like, you think you can read people, take your butt in there, and whew, that's like the pros, man. That's the pros. You stand in front of that guy. The interesting thing about him, though, and I will give him that, he doesn't let it all down, that's for sure. He's very easy to connect with on the show, because you're connecting to the show he's trying to put out there for people, So you're connecting to the Howard they know and respect and have certain expectations of. So you're playing that side of him, But as soon as the show's over, he's a completely different person, completely, and you're not going to connect with him coming that way. Like, he's got a whole other thing going on. So that was interesting to me, to feel the change, to be able to be like, wow, one minute you feel like you really dialed into and the next minute it's just like cattle, man, just keep on moving, keep on moving. But he does his thing, with as far as like people, he's done so much for helping launch people's careers and discovering people. And I mean, heck, he even went on years later, to do that American Talent show and stuff, so, which I knew he was going to be excellent at when he did, just for that reason. Like, he's been looking at people coming in there that think they're talented or whatever, or not so much, or even more so than they realize. He'd been seeing people like that for 30 years. So, I mean, I knew he'd be a natural with that. But anyway, that's all I would say. It was a great book. I don't know if anyone out there is a fan, but if you want to read something that talks about, being able to evolve in the way of your thinking and your approach, being able to look back and see your faults, understand why you made the choices that you made at the time, but also understanding how, you can definitely make those choices differently going forward. And, that whole thing, I thought it was a phenomenal book. Really was. All right. Congratulations, Howard. Good job, dude. And thanks, everyone.